Hi everyone and welcome to Hostile Territory. The video you're going to see now has one sole purpose, and that is to warn good companies out there that they have a disease. They have a serious problem. I think most companies out there that they either are not aware of or they simply turn a blind eye to it. That disease is so bad, I think, and is so much affecting that company that they can eventually destroy it. What it's all about, you'll hear in the video, so stay tuned.
Hostile territory.
Before we continue, I would just like to apologize for my bad English and for using sometimes strange phrases or terms. I'm obviously not a native American English speaker, so I beg your pardon. Now, what am I talking about in this video? I coined the term middlemen. I'm not going to call them bosses, supervisors, or other kinds of titles. I have deep respect for all of the people who are working in those places. In most cases, it's a hard place to be. It's hard to reconcile the wants of the company and the worker. There are all kinds of people, all kinds of companies, and all in all, it's a tough place to be. But what I've noticed, and later I will tell you my experience with it, is that in a company, there is the ownership and the management and the people who actually do the work. Okay. This line of communications should be clear. When the owners of the company want something, they tell it to the people who actually do the work, and work happens, money is earned, economics happen, and it's, simple as that. But what I've noticed is that in between these two, the middleman comes in like this and settles in between these two. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that most companies simply have to do this, especially when they're growing, when the business is expanding. You can't expect the ownership of the company to solve all of the problems for a company that has thousands of workers. You have to find someone who's gonna run certain parts of the company, solve certain problems, and this is logical to do. But in fact, what happens is that those people that are under the ownership or the head management of the company start using that position in a manipulative way. What they start to do is look at their own gain within the company. And I saw this many times, and perhaps this is natural. It would be very idealistic to think that you're going to be in that position because you're only thinking about the company and the company good and everything else. Of course, you're going to think about yourself. The only problem I had with that is that I thought the paycheck and the benefits you have from all that would be enough. But what I saw, in fact, is that those middlemen start manipulating. They want to, in fact, get the paycheck, get the benefits, but they do not want to do the work. And instead of making new ideas, getting new clients, getting new jobs, improving the process within the company and everything else, and they are paid for that, and they should do that in my opinion, but that's all heavy work, they start manipulating. They stop that line of communication between the worker and between the ownership or the head management. And they start using the worker as a sort of donkey that they ride on to justify why they are there and to use the worker to their advantage. And on the other side, they manipulate the owners to think that they are the ones responsible for doing it. And that is what I wanted to say, perhaps in a confusing way. Those people are essentially like parasites. They enter the company, they make a name for themselves, they make this illusion for themselves, and this can go on for years and years and years. And because of that, the head management thinks, oh my God, this is a great person, everything is okay, while on the other side, everything is going to pieces. People are leaving the company, workers do not want to work like they used to, they do not want to work in quality, they start slacking, and the whole company goes to bits. I have seen this numerous times, and this is what I wanted to warn the companies about. So to resume on this part, the main danger is that the middleman gets in between the clear line of communication of people that actually do the job, that earn the money, that make the economics, that put bread on the table. and start sucking on that line of communication like a parasite, okay? Building their own false reputation that adds to nothing. And all companies should be very careful about this. Now I will try to tell you my story about my experience with middlemen and the damage they can do to companies. When I left my previous company, I started working for another company which was also a big player in that line of work, you know. When I got the call from them to come to work over there, I went and had a job interview. The person who interviewed me was a district manager, a very high level person in their hierarchy within that company. And you know, the interview went as most interviews go. They told me about the company, how everything is good in their company. After that, we came to the main reason why they want to give me that job. It was because of human relations and because of problems with people in that branch office. Because I had information from certain other sides, I knew what the actual problem was. Previously, they employed people that absolutely demolished the reputation of that branch office, and they even managed to demolish the reputation of the whole company to some extent. And now they wanted to solve that problem by bringing in new people. And I took the opportunity. And you know what happened? When I arrived the first day at work, I was very surprised to see that nothing is like what she said. The people who were hired to work there, except one person who had experience, were rookies. They were people who had no idea what they were working. Even the person who was experienced was sort of lost in space. Most of the time he would walk away, he wouldn't be there for like half an hour. When he comes back, he would tell you to do this. After 20 minutes, he would come and tell you to do the same thing differently. Then he would come and say, is this finished? But he thought about another job, and it was a complete disaster. Soon after that, for obvious reasons, I gave in my resignation. The district manager called me, and I didn't want to say what the problem was because I didn't want those people to get fired because of that. And after that, I was left thinking, my goodness, how is it possible that that district manager did not solve this problem? How is this possible, man? You can't work like this. And I came to this conclusion. That district manager had one thing in mind. By employing me, she would solve the problem. The problem was not rookie people in the office. The problem was not that there was a complete lack of organization of work within the office. The problem was not that they had a boss within that branch office that is totally losing it. The problem was to find a person that will fill the gap that the district manager thought existed. I'm again talking in confusing terms. And now I will tell you what I think the problem was. The district manager was not solving the actual problem. The district manager was solving her problem. And her problem was to find a person that will fill in the gap. And that's it. So that solution to the problem had nothing to do with helping the company, to help the organization of the work, nothing of the sort. The only purpose of me getting employed is to solve the gap that perhaps someone in a higher position told her. And to be honest, it wasn't any different the next company I tried. It was again in the same line of work. This time there was a boss who had no problems in using the workers for his own gain. And mind you, this was again a company that was built from the dirt up. People invested a huge amount of effort, a huge amount of will to get that company going and make it a big company, a worthy company. And they employed someone like that to be the boss. The guy was there to use the company car to go home and have a nap. He was there to answer the phone and preach about himself, how he was the best. And it was, bad, man. It was really bad. Now, to come to the point of all this. These were two companies that were great, very good companies. People invested their heart and souls into this. They invested a huge amount of time, money, everything else to make that company work. They opened a branch office in a key position and they employ these kinds of people. For that time, there was not any kind of control, and this also goes for the boss in my previous workplace, which I mentioned in my testimonial video. There was no kind of control from higher instance to see what those people were doing. Nobody came to make any kind of control in that period to see what's the problem, man, what's going on. And that was in fact my experience and the point of all of these stories. I went through 3 companies. 1, I was in for a long time. 2, I flew through them. And in all 3 of them, I saw the same problem. Now for the end of this video, and I hope the previous parts were not too confusing, but for the end of this video, I would like to send one message again to all of the company owners and head management. For the love of God, try to find some sort of system to control these middlemen, and try to find some sort of system to see what they are doing all the time and keep some sort of constant overview on their actions. What I've seen from experience is that lots of companies simply let these people do what they want, let them act as they are the owners of the office, department, or everything else, and because of this, lots of problems start happening. That's what happened to me in my previous workplace in the branch office, okay? The boss and his mistress started acting like they were the owners of the branch office. And because of this, I left. And because of this, other people left also. So my point here is that in that case, if there was some sort of inspection and people came more often and perhaps saw what was happening, things would have a different outcome. The point is, and this is some sort of recommendation, if I may, that you have to have constant inspections within all of the departments, branch offices, and everything else. All of these people who act as despots and as owners should be removed from the company because, you know, these people are essentially doing their own thing within your company. They are getting their own gains, and once they are finished, they will leave it. By that time, all of the workers will be gone. By that time, clients will be gone. By that time, the job will crumble to pieces, you know. And that's a big pity after investing all of that time, effort, sacrifice, blood, and tears into making that company happen and to getting it to that point. I know this very well since I have 2 relatives that have their own companies, and I saw firsthand what kind of sacrifice it takes to build those companies to a certain level. So if you want to keep your company intact, make inspections as much as possible, keep these people under close control, and always monitor what they are doing. Also, if possible, it would be good if you have to have middlemen to find people within your company through some sort of process and elimination who like your company, who share those goals, and who will work for the company and not for themselves, and who have other people's interests at least 50-50 with their own, and not only their own interests at hand. So that's it for this time. I hope this video helps. Please like and subscribe. It's a huge help for the channel. Again, all of this was said with the best intentions. I have nothing but admiration for people who have built their companies from scratch, who have done numerous amazing things. I have nothing but admiration for head managements in big companies that are doing amazing things, leading companies in an amazing way. So again, it would be a big pity for those companies to go down because of these stupid and minor things. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time, and I hope I'll see you in the next video.